We are live. What's up, Ian? A little change of scenery today. We're actually talking to each other since we are in our office.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody can actually tell that we are in your office because the way we got all these cameras set up, we literally spent the last, at least hour and a half trying to set this whole studio up. But we are working on new big things to make this podcast go to the next level, and that's really our overall goal.
And we're up in our game. And the reason why is no better time to talk about the topic that we have today, which is a really, really fun and exciting topic for me because it's something that I think about and I try to implement on a regular basis, and I know you do as well. We're talking about software. We're talking about technology. We're talking about business hacks. You know, we're early on in 2022. A lot of people want to step up their games in business, putting people in place, putting software in place, putting systems in place. And I feel like there's no better time than let's talk about some of the hacks that we internally use. We each obviously run different businesses. I'm Jason from Money Bankers, Ian from Equity Warehouse, and let's kind of go through. We have very different businesses, so we have, it's funny because they're different businesses, but they're kind of the same, right? They're trying to spit out cash flow, and they're in the real estate niche. That's what they have in common, although we have separate strategies.
Exactly, and I think that's like where the common denominator becomes is that everybody has a different widget, but in the end, you're running it through the machine, and ultimately, you're becoming an asset manager, right? Like, you really need to start to think at that level rather than too many guys and gals get so caught up in like the day-to-day operations. And I think that's where a lot of people like start to lose sight of what your true job is, and it's to create cash flow and returns. I mean, at least that's what my business is, 100%. And that's what your business is, even though you lend money and we invest in assets.
Yeah, and some people get caught up on overcomplicating things. And I'm a firm believer, I know you're a firm believer, that it's better to do something that, not perfectly than not do something perfectly.
Right.
Because it's never going to get done.
Yeah.
I'll be the first one to tell you that everything I do is like 80%. That's just what it is. And it's helped become successful, right? Like, I'm not going to try to be perfect on everything. Even right now, this podcast setup that we have is not perfect. Believe me, if we were zoomed out a little bit here, let us show you real quick. So look, it's not perfect, right? Not perfect for me, but it works. And I'd encourage anybody in business, especially real estate investing as a business, to not worry or sweat the small stuff. So let's do this. Should we start with like broad business tools and software we use, like the Googles of the world?
Sure.
Or should we dive into individual software that we use for our businesses?
I think the best way to ask it is like, where do you natively live every single day? Like, when you're the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning, like, and you want to get a glimpse of what your business is doing, where do you think you jump to first?
Dude, that's easy because everything we do inside our business is geared inside Google, the Google applications, between Gmail to calendars to Google Drive to Google Docs, Excels, to surveys. Like, literally everything is. Now, I'm not servicing loans through Gmail. We'll talk about that over how we're doing that, but everything we do is inside the Gmail platform. And for the most part, it's a free platform. Yeah, we pay on a per user basis a small fee because we have additional features that we utilize, but everything's through the Google platform. I've tried to build out our own specialized platforms and spent tens of thousands of dollars to do so, and it never was a match for Google or Gmail.
Yeah, no, definitely. And for me, for like where we live, I would say the most important thing to me, and I want to get a quick glimpse of what our business is on a daily basis, is I skip over AppFolio, I skip over Storage, I skip over all the management software, and I go right to QuickBooks. Is really where we get a good picture to what our business is doing on a daily basis, what our cash position is, outstanding bills or checks that are out there, because that's what's the most important to us, because we're looking at cash flow. We're looking to invest in assets, taking care of the assets that we have, right? And if I don't know what our cash position is, it's really tough for me. Yes, I use Google. I look at my calendar. We have a little bit more fluid schedule, say, than what Jason and Chris have over at Hard Money Bankers. Our schedule's a little more fluid. So Google's not my go-to, but really QuickBooks for us, and understanding the cash flow side of things for us gives me the best glimpse of our business.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And again, we both have partners, we both have employees and staff. My partner, Chris, he lives in some of our banking accounts. He is more of a CFO type of role.
Yep.
So he's living more in our servicing software, which we'll talk about here, in a second, like how we use and how we manage it. But he's looking at more money, like day-to-day money stuff.
Right.
I'm looking at it more on pipelines and trails. And I've got everything built out, like our loan origination system inside Google Sheets. I've have it set up that I'm doing, Excel spreadsheets and pipelines.
Yeah.
When things come in, we use Infusionsoft as our CRM, as
right.
our lead flow. So if someone goes to our website, fills out a contact us form, loan application, everything filters through that. But I'm not living inside of it because it's a little too complicated to do so. It's just collecting things and doing drip campaigns and autoresponders behind the scene. It's getting sent to me in real time. I organize it through my email and my calendar, and then put things on an Excel spreadsheet or a Google sheet to go from there.
Well, but let's take a pause right now. Like let's think about this, and this is why I like the in studio a little bit better, because I can see like where you're getting impassioned, but then it like makes me think. Sometimes when we're doing it from afar, it's hard for us to like cut each other off. So that's why I was trying to stop you there for a second. I think you need to give everybody a picture of how long it took you to set that up. Like, what did it take for you to stop and say, okay, man, like this isn't right in my process. Like I got to find something to resolve this in there. Like I think everybody's too much like, I need Infusionsoft. For the longest time, you were telling me to get on Infusionsoft. I don't need Infusionsoft, Jason. I don't need it. Finally, one day I need it. I'm like, now I get why I need it, right? Like, those are the different things of like, number one, what was like your pushover point to jump on that type of software? And number two, like, how many years of like culmination of this is to get to where you are today to have a streamlined process?
Well, I think a lot of people are very unorganized inside their businesses, right? Sometimes just because of the personality type. You have I personality type, and I've got some I too. And I typically is like, you don't sweat the details. It's just you figure
got to get it done.
But on the other side of that, if you're over analytical, then you're a spreadsheet junkie.
Right.
You're analyzing everything that doesn't freaking matter to begin with. So what we realize, and this is how we've always done things, is everything inside our business, Chris and myself, myself, depending on what it is, knows how to do. That's just how we are wired. That's how we've done it. We didn't hire someone to be like, hey, learn marketing for me, learn accounting, learn this, learn that. We didn't have that. We did it ourselves internally, and then we outsourced it, hired, automated it after the fact. So it was one of those things that it was like, hey, we're getting tons of leads in. We used to use Aweber in 2007, 2008 when we started, right? Aweber doesn't have the tools that an Infusionsoft has, something like that. So we used to use like native. We didn't have WordPress either back then, but it was like native website tools and web forms, and then they would just like stockpile up, and they weren't going anywhere. Right now, keep in mind we have a very low conversion ratio, right? So I get maybe 1,000 inquiries, leads per month, and I'm only closing 20 loans every month. So I don't need to live out of like a Salesforce.
Right.
I just have tons and tons of data I can't do anything
with.
So the way that we do it, and I'd encourage most real estate investors to do this, because if you have a marketing machine, you're getting deals in all the time, and most of them you can't do it. So 90% of them 100% of them go into a drip campaign, right? Everybody goes into Infusionsoft and they get dripped based on the state they came in, some fields that they filled out, interest levels, right? So they're automatically going in there, and then I pluck the 10% that have, legs, and those are the ones that I put into Google Sheets.
Right. Well, when you're building this whole thing out, like, well, what came first? What came second? Like, this wasn't just like, I'm going to come up with this massive like lead gen system and then just create this massive drip campaign, and I'm like God's gift to marketing. Like, what did it? How much trial and error did you go down to make this right?
A ton, right? It's just like everything. Like, you don't know what you don't know, and typically until it becomes overwhelming, and you can't do it themselves. So before, what would happen is we had like these native web forms. And what I mean by that is someone would go to our website, they'd fill out a form, and it would get emailed to me. I would take those and I would data input them into some sort of like autoresponder campaign. That's how it comes.
You were manually doing it at first.
I was manually doing and I didn't know tech stuff. I learned HTML. I learned some basic design stuff. I learned a lot of stuff just because out of necessity. We didn't have any money when we started this company.
Right.
And like what we do now is very different than what we did before. There's time, money, right? And, before we had no money, we had lots of time. Now we have more money and we have less time on what we do. So, I'll give you an example. The other day I I was trying to figure out ways to automate some social media stuff. I paid for it. I didn't just try. I paid for it.
And then, by the way, that was funny because every day it's like, yo, I just paid for this new thing. I paid for this new thing. Dude, we're talking about like $10, $75. I'm like, dude, you really just paid for all that crap? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, man, I paid so cheap.
Like I pulled out the credit card and I paid for different ones just to try it because I couldn't get the full version during the free trial. I paid for it. Then I ended up canceling it.
Right.
But like I would have never done that before.
Right.
I would have never done that before. So like we always started, like we had very, very, very little overhead at the beginning because we didn't have the money for the overhead. And I'd encourage that for people. Like you got to get creative and you got to get kind of down and dirty yourself. And I know a lot of people don't like hearing that, but it takes freaking time. Like I've put my 10,000 hours into some like stupid stuff. Like if something's broken on the back end of like a website, I shouldn't know how to fix that, but like I had to because I didn't have, I know number one, you don't even know what questions to ask, right? So I don't know. I kind of just learned all that stuff early on, and
well, some of it's instant, and some of it's instant gratification, and the other part is you can't afford some of the people that you really, really want to do. I mean, to be fair, and I think some people have heard this story before. Like, we didn't know how to use QuickBooks. We were doing everything on Excel. Like, accounting didn't matter to us. Like, getting the deals done doing that first was the most important thing to us. And then after that, we're like, well, shit, we're paying too much in taxes. Like, are we doing this right? What's a balance sheet? What's a P&L? Like, we didn't understand any of those things. And after a while, we had to take the time to jump in. And we tried using a VA. By the way, we're going to get into my VA experience here shortly. But we were using a VA to do accounting, and then we turned it into our accountant, and they're like, what the hell is this? Like, this is terrible. And we're like, okay. And then out of like a lot of YouTube videos, talking to Jason and Chris and other guys in the industry and gals in the industry, we're like, well, how do you do this? And trial and error. And yeah, we paid the accountant a little bit, but we couldn't afford to pay the accountant to fully bookkeep. We finally figured out how to do it ourselves. And to the point where we got the accountant to finally say, man, you guys are doing a really good job at this. And again, I think that's why we started to live inside of QuickBooks, and it really paints the picture for our company because we understand all the data inside of that software. I think a lot of people, and I know I was completing a thought there, but it kind of took me down another road, is that like a lot of people buy software and then they don't realize that like the input, that software is useless unless you're inputting the proper data, right? And then the output is equally as useless if you're not inputting the right stuff. Everyone's like, I'm going to get this software and it's going to fix it. Well, no, it's not going to fix it. Like Jason was talking about the social media stuff that we're both kind of trying to figure out and do, and we're working together on it. It's like, well, if we didn't have the proper content up front, hiring a VA to do it or buying a software on the back end means absolutely nothing to us.
Dude, so that's a really, really good point. And a few things. Number one, everybody does that same path, including us. We did that same path. I mean, we lived off Excel spreadsheets at the beginning because you don't know. Yeah. You don't know what software to buy. Number one, real niche softwares, and we'll talk about the niche softwares that we both use inside our business, they're freaking expensive, right? So that's part of it. Yeah. And number two, like, go try to learn not like how to navigate in QuickBooks, but go set up an asset, go set up a liability, go set up income expense. Good fucking luck. Like it's not happening if you don't know how to do it. If you know how to do it, you can use any of the software. Yeah. But we all learn that ourselves, and it's the most powerful thing you can do. You're a business owner. What's the most important thing as a business owner? Your net cash flow. Right. Your bottom line, not your top line. I know tons of real estate investors and realtors and other real estate professionals that their top line revenue is great. They do tons of deals. They're grinding. They're doing their thing, and they're great. But go look at their bottom line revenue. It's not very impressive because they don't know. They're not living in that space. They don't know what's going on. Oh, and you know what their excuse is? My accountant handles that. That's a bullshit excuse.
Oh, I hate that. They're like, I got to get my accountant to get me the information. I'm like, how do you not know your numbers in real time? Like, how the hell are you in business? And like, that's really scary to me. That some people are just like, they 100% rely on someone else. And I get it. Sometimes you need to, but in the same sense, you need to be able to ask the right questions. And how do you get information in real time?
And they're a professional, and you need that professional, but they're no more of a professional than an appraiser, a real estate agent, or anybody else. That's like you going to buy a property. Yeah. And all of your underwriting and due diligence was reliant on a real estate agent or a real estate broker or an appraiser telling you what the value of the property is. You're the expert. You need to do that. You can't rely on somebody else to tell you what the value of an asset is that you're buying. You're the expert. You're going to call yourself a real estate investor. Be a real estate investor. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. I'm not saying don't have vendors and service providers and friends and stuff like that to help you. It's all about that. I get that. But whoever is the decision maker is the one who's, making the economic decision, right? If you're making an economic decision, you're the one who's on the line with it. So point being, it's important to learn all different things inside the business and utilizing it. I'm not saying go do the keystrokes inside of QuickBooks, right? We don't do the keystrokes in there. But when one of our accountants or bookkeepers or controllers comes up to us and says, hey, what are your thoughts about this? I can paint the overall picture of like, this is how we should structure this deal. And that's what we do every day. All right. So any other hacks or software that you're using, like big software stuff, not niche products, like the Gmails of the world, like do you use Asana for project stuff like that?
Yeah, for us on project management, I don't want to say we're kind of still old school. Whiteboard spreadsheets is just what kind of works. We still do have meetings. We're doing some larger projects right now that really only require us to have more like bi-weekly or monthly meetings on the projects because there's so much work to be done. But one of the apartment buildings that we recently did, everything was done by a spreadsheet. I built out everything on Excel, and we checked it off from there because that's what works for us. There's no reason for us to jump on a Slack, an Asana. It just, we've never really integrated that into our business. I would say on a broad level, besides QuickBooks, and the other big one for us is really Gusto. For payroll are probably our two biggest like non-niche software products that are important to us that have streamlined our process. Everything else from there, we've actually bought more niche products than we have, say, broad level like overall company products. And I think that's mainly because Chris is walking in. Hey, buddy. Is that we're still a very small company. It's Dan and myself and 4 employees. That, we all still talk to each other. Everyone still picks up the cell phone. We're not on some crazy level. You guys have a few offices. You need a little more broad level stuff. So I think that's why we haven't integrated as much of those.
Yeah, but there's probably tools inside your business that you're using that you might not even realize. You kind of take them for granted. Listen, Dan's got 7 computer screens. With cameras everywhere because you own a lot of properties and for security purposes. So let's use that as a hack. Like, what security systems do you use to monitor your properties, your commercial buildings?
Yeah, so our we use one of the sites we use the REO Link cameras. They've been okay, but they monitor. They're cell service based, and then we have a Spico system, I think. But either way, all those are. In the end, it doesn't really matter what the actual physical product that's sitting there is, and what the cameras are, and what the DVR is. The fact that we can broadcast it back to our site, like the other night, Ryan was on. He was checking the cameras because I think it was supposed to snow. It was after the Ravens game, and we caught some guys trying to get into our parking lot, and we were able to get someone out there instantly. Some guys don't want to deal with it; they want to turn a blind eye. For us, we're active managers, and that's what makes us sleep at night and go from there. So either way, there's a bunch of different ways to navigate what you need to do. And you're right, I probably have bigger broad level programs, but I don't realize I'm using on a day-to-day basis.
What software were you using, or what cameras were you using when you were doing flips on single family houses?
So that started out when we were doing single families. I mean, there wasn't really a good product in the marketplace, and Dan was an avid hunter. So we would go buy trail cams that had a cell service SIM card to it, and we would put the trail cams in there. Well, now those have gotten way better than what they were, and you could buy solar powered cameras now and all these other fun things. But yeah, when we first started, we were using something from another industry to protect our sites.
Yeah, I love that. I love that example, and I think that's a good takeaway for anybody that's doing a flip or potentially even wholesaling a property that's vacant, that they have under contract and they're controlling to do.
Can I interject something? I just want to let Glenn know. Glenn, when you get a chance, we really screwed this up. I should have put the camera. And again, this goes back to our 80%. I know you guys feel like I'm distracted, but I'm like, my camera's to the left of me. I should have just put the camera right in front of me, and we would have been set. We're idiots. I don't know, man. I don't know why.
That's what we were trying to accomplish. We were each going to put our cameras on here and then face each other and then look over at each other. Yeah. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing next time.
All right, we're going to put it right there in the middle. We're going to look at each other. But either way, so like we are broadcasting this right on StreamYard, right? Like another broad level product. And like, we don't really use
StreamYard's that's a good hack.
Yeah.
So let's talk about StreamYard here for a second. That's one of the platforms we use right when it came out. We saw Gary Vee using it, and we dove into this. I'll give you an idea. I'll give you a good hack if you're doing content. Everyone that wants to do content perfectly, right? They're worried about everything. What if I make a mistake? The easiest way to do it is live. And then you don't even sweat it. And if you use a platform like StreamYard, which is the one that we're recording on now, you can automatically post to Facebook and to YouTube and to LinkedIn. And, if you're techie, you can even, change that. You can change that up and be more advanced. But don't worry about doing it perfect, right? People want live stuff anyways.
Yep.
So if I'll tell you right now that Ian and I would never be recording these podcasts, these meetup groups, these events that we're doing on a regular basis, if it didn't stream to all these different platforms, because I'm not editing this crap. Sending it to post-production. It costs money. It costs time. It's a pain in the neck. We record this live.
Yeah.
And you know what? If it's 80% good enough, great. For all I care, I think it's better than 80%.
Yeah.
But if it's 80%, it's still fine with me.
Well,
because it goes everywhere, and we don't have to think about it.
Yeah, we were talking about it the other week. We're like, all right, let's set up a podcast studio. We're going to do this, and like we can rip down the videos and do this. And we're like, shit, that's work. We're not going to do it, right? And it's not that we don't want to do the work. Our highest, best use of time is to find cash flowing assets, whether it's hard money loans or physical assets for us. They're like, if we got to do all that, it's just not going to happen. And then the podcast isn't fun to us. And again, we like getting on here and talking to everybody and coming up with other ideas and helping other people to be like, hey, man, this is what works for us. And just being able to get on, fire the mics up and go. As soon as you put any kind of complication behind it, you're probably not going to do it.
And I think that's the case with everything inside people's businesses. Everyone wants to overthink shit.
Well, yeah, right. I mean, think about WeVideo. WeVideo is another great example. I used to never do any content videos, and I've been a little lackadaisical recently because I haven't been outside of the goddamn office. That's a whole nother story. But, dude, just going on, recording a few videos, sticking it into WeVideo, it's all built there for you rather than doing some, massive, the thought to buying, Premiere, Adobe, whatever the big one is.
It's expensive, and you know how hard that is to use?
Yeah, no way. I won't do it. I looked at it one time and said, hell.
Everything's inexpensive these days, and the quality is really, really good. So you don't have an excuse on that, and it doesn't matter what side of real estate you're in. You can be a small private lender. You can have a big real estate portfolio. You can be an appraiser. You can be a real estate agent. You got to be doing some sort of content, and if it's not for lead gen purposes, it's for credibility purposes. Right? If you are raising capital, you need credibility, right? And the more eyeballs you have, the better.
Yeah.
But at the very least, you need something professional. Especially in this day and age.
Yeah.
Like you need video. You need stuff out there, and it's not hard. Like personally, I'll speak for myself. I'm not Ian, but I don't really love doing these videos, but they're effective, right?
Oh, they're fun. Yeah, I mean, look.
And they're easy.
They're easy and they're fun, right? And again, this all came out of us saying, well, we have these phone conversations every day. Let's bring it to the market. But I think what you're trying to say is not that they're not fun for you to do, that as soon as they become complicated and we're starting to add some complexity to it because we're trying to take it to the next level, now it's starting to become like work. And now we get a little nervous, like, oh, shit, I got to do this. I got to do that. And it's still hard. I'm probably way more outgoing than Jason is. Just it's my personality. It's still tough as shit to get on camera and talk, And
but you're talking about something that you know about. I'm not saying go BS. It's like public speaking, right?
Yeah.
As long as it's a topic that you're comfortable with and you know stuff with, and hopefully as a real estate investor you do know about real estate investing. Let's leave this point. One thing, I've been following a realtor lately who should be on camera.
Yep.
I'm not going to try to say if it's a he or she. But anyways, as I talk, so if I don't slip. But this particular person has been doing a good amount of content that I've followed lately. And to be honest, it's not great content, but they're doing the content.
They are doing the content.
And because they're doing the content, they're getting eyeballs and building credibility and getting a base. And they're going to grow their business just because they're doing the content. And, I would suggest to them it should be a little bit more valuable to somebody instead of just tooting their horn. But the point is they're doing content and they're visible in their credibility.
If we were talking about,
you don't even know if we're talking about the same person.
The same person, but I spoke to another realtor and they said, you know what? I don't care. I got some guy out of Towson who wanted to start a video company. So we're doing a test run. I'm paying that person on a monthly basis and I'm just doing it. I was like, yeah, it's a great idea. I said, by the way, reels are the hottest thing. Shorts and reels are the hottest thing.
Yeah.
Start cutting down your videos. And they were like, yo, what a great idea. Didn't even think about it. But like, again, if we never did this podcast, we couldn't do our shorts and reels and we couldn't have the exposure that we do. And yeah, we still sweat. Like when I post a reel, I'm like, Jay got one. He's like, oh yeah, what's up? I'm like, got 4,000 views. I'm like, still get pumped up. But then I also get pissed when there's only 90 views.
And here's the thing with all social that has to be tracked. And people are like, that's not for me. It's too overwhelming. I don't know how to do it. Well, you got to wrap your brain around something that you will do. Right. Everyone tells me all the time, it's like, oh, you should do this. You should do this. But like, I'm not going to do that. I want to do something that I'm going to consistently do. Like if someone, and at one point, maybe we'll show some behind the scenes of both of our content plans because they're both fucking built out and developed and awesome badass, and we're doing them solely. And if someone watched what we were doing, they're like, how are you guys doing this yourself with nobody else?
Right.
For the most part. And we have this, very inexpensive video editor overseas that's obviously a separate one that has both been helping us. But like, it's legit daily content that's very, very easy because we put a system in place to wrap our brain, and we were able to wrap our brain around it so it's not overwhelming. And that's what it is with everything. Everything inside business should not be too overwhelming. You got to put a good system in place. You got to learn it yourself. It was extremely heavy lifting on the front end. Everything's heavy lifting on the front end. But after it's set up, it should be very, very automated.
Yeah, I mean, talking about the shorts and reels, and I'll get in my VA experience because I've never really had good ones. But Jay was talking. He's like, well, I'm just going to cut down the videos myself. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, yeah, it's only like 15 minutes. I'm like, dude, there's no way this lasts. I think what it'll last you maybe like a week, and you're like, all right, we got to.
Dude, I never cut any videos myself.
You did. You did one or two.
What?
No, bullshit.
Which one?
The one where you had the music behind them. You cut those videos down.
Yeah, but that was different. So that wasn't a long form podcast, though. That wasn't like.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
No, I did. I did do one myself because. But what was tough is, we were utilizing. I mean, this is a good life lesson as well for our business lesson. And I was talking to Glenn about this the other day that like we each went through. I probably went through a little bit more than you did. Multiple VAs to help with some of this stuff because on the cheap end, they didn't come out right. They didn't understand the task.
Yeah.
On the other end, they were great, but I didn't want to spend that much. I know $25 a video. That's too much. So you find something that makes sense inside a budget that's still good enough, right?
Yep.
They're good enough. That's like the overall principle. So much stuff we're talking about is good enough.
Well, and that's the thing. Like I could have went on Fiverr or whatever ones you use, and you can tell us which ones you use. But I wound up going on Online Jobs PH through a referral from a friend who was having great luck, and he was dumping a ton of content, and it's really good. I mean, we talk about it a lot. I'm actually getting ready to head out to his mastermind next week in Salt Lake, and that's our podcast studio falling apart. But either way, we did so Online Jobs PH. It was really good. Found our VA there. She is awesome. I'll say hi because I know you're going to watch this video and cut it down. I'm sure we'll get a nice short from this. But I did interview a few on there, and she, I sent some sample work of what we were looking for, different styles. And the first few videos, we were filling each other out. And then I said, hey, can we tweak this? And she's like, yo, what about this? And then different backgrounds, trying different things. And we dynamically worked with each other to get to where we are in the creative process. Is it perfect on my end? I don't know. But you know what? We're consistently putting content out. The last videos that just came in for the metaverse, as you guys see that content coming out, is absolutely awesome. And she did a great job cutting it down. You know what? And comparatively speaking to what I would need to hire staff here locally and for what she does over there, it's a fair exchange. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. We're both accomplishing something. She gets to do what she needs to do. We get to do what we need to do. And we both end up getting an exchange of service, which is awesome. So we use Online Jobs PH. Who do you use for VAs?
Upwork right now. I mean, I used to have the only thing inside our business that I need regularly is like some sort of graphic stuff, basic website updates and stuff like that. So we retain a full-time guy. It's very inexpensive. I mean, a few $100 a few $100 a month, and they, have consistent work. And I'm always like, hey, we update this on our website, create this image for me, things like that. So nothing crazy. We were really heavy loaded with him years ago.
Yeah.
This guy's been here for like 10 years with us. And that was when he was Guru. Guru, I think, turned into Upwork, or Elance turned into Upwork.
Yeah.
But the point is those are like little things that, like, if I paid somebody locally to do like a banner ad for me, it would cost hundreds of dollars.
Exactly.
Right. So like, I don't even give this guy much work anymore, but I have him at my disposal for when I do need him, and it pays for itself. So
yeah, I mean, and look, Online Jobs PH. There's not like a screen share where you're monitoring and watching their keystrokes. I know Upwork, if you're a little more conservative and you want to keep an eye to what's going on. But I'll tell you what, the applicants that came through Online Jobs PH, and we have no referral links, none of that crap. Straight up, was probably some of the best applicants I had come through, and fully enjoyed it. And I was just telling my brother yesterday, the utilization of VAs, and I never really thought about this until recently with my good experience that I had. And Dan's been using them. We would do like Word docs and just jump on Fiverr and get someone to do dumb stuff here and there. Is after my experience with our current VA, who's absolutely awesome, is that I think I told Dan the other day, I said I can envision teaching someone how to do the keystrokes into QuickBooks on the day-to-day transactions through a VA.
Yep.
And what it would cost to hire somebody in office versus having someone elsewhere to do it virtually. The exchange
10%, probably 10% less on it.
Maybe more, yes.
All right, so enough about content. Let's end this with like micro niche software tech, maybe some individual hacks inside our businesses that use. So what are you guys using for like property management right now?
Yeah, so for property management, we're AppFolio for our residential and commercial sites. And for our storage, we're just about to be 100% on storage. And I'll tell you this much, you get what you pay for in software. And when you're dealing with client relationships that need to be interactive to be able to pay online, they want to be able to see their ledger balances, they want an app, they want to be able to get the stuff that they need to do on their end, but you also want real-time data that provides you good information and good reporting. Pay a little bit more for the right software. AppFolio has great software. We still kind of use QuickBooks backend on the accounting side of things, but for the storage stuff, reporting is very important. And storage is reporting, comparatively speaking, to some of the other softwares out there, is amazing.
But with AppFolio, you can use the accounting feature, right? Trust ledger and accounting feature.
100%. Yeah, we never built it out because we were so live on QuickBooks that the day-to-day transactions on that side of things didn't matter to us as much because we're already doing it in QuickBooks. Whereas on AppFolio, I didn't need the full corporate accounting software at that point, which we've debated about going back and forth. But our business is a little dynamic right now, and we're going through some changes. Is that we didn't want to go all in on that side of things. We wanted the ledgers to be right for the tenants, and that was the most important thing, the most important piece of that software there. And I know you guys were on Yardi there for a minute, which was like insanely like heavy software, but then you still got QuickBooks running in the background.
We didn't have QuickBooks running in the background.
You didn't have QuickBooks running in the background?
Nope. What's up, Bill? No, we never had QuickBooks in the background.
We got all kinds of people coming through.
Yeah.
This is way more fun than sitting in our offices.
I know. No, we never had QuickBooks with it. We used Yardi and left it with Yardi.
Yeah.
Or inside. I mean, I use QuickBooks for a lot of other businesses, but not for that. Typically, if we're going to use one software, we're going to use one software. We're not going to overlap them.
Yeah, and it was hard for us to make that switch because we were so alive on QuickBooks. But you know what? In the end, you need to know why you're getting that software. Like, what's the important key points for us? The key points was bringing tenants in, applications, credit checks, background checks, applications, lead gen, all those things. That was the most important stuff for us out of that software, comparatively speaking to the back end accounting.
What other niche softwares do you think that you guys have that would be valuable to share with everybody?
What property management software did you use early on?
At the beginning.
Oh, property management software early on. We tried doing it through QuickBooks, which was a nightmare.
No. Every property.
Yeah, and then we did. It was a nightmare, and then it was tenant. I can't even remember the name of the software. It was so shitty. We were on not Tenant Inc. That's a storage software. Man, I'll think about it after the pod's over. But either way, that software was so terrible. And again, you get what you pay for. It was said it integrated to QuickBooks. We were so excited for it, and it was trash. Absolutely 100% trash. So then from there, we wound up on Appfolio because we said, you know what, if we're going to grow our portfolio, we need to have the right accounting and information in front of us to be able to grow.
And would you recommend spending the money up front to do it the right way that you can grow into, or do it small and grow into it? And I'll give you my there's two sides of this.
To me, if you're in like massive growth phase, I know just me personally, it was like the Band-Aid worked for us. And then when we slowed it down, we went back and fixed it. Yes, the answer is if you could get on the right software on day one that's going to grow with you and not inhibit your growth, then I would say yes. But if you're going to get so caught up in the minutia and screw yourself, I would say no. Get something that you're comfortable with, that's easy for you to use, and then grow into bigger and better softwares as you learn it.
So one thing I was just thinking about as we've been talking is one of the benefits of the smaller, not capable softwares was you learn what's needed and why, and the pain points of it. I mean, most softwares that we have, we utilize like 10% of it, of the capabilities,
right?
Just because like it's not needed. We mold it ourselves. I mean, we use our loan service. Our loan servicing software was $20,000 plus $800, $900 every quarter, right? It's expensive. It took us years to buy it. It was expensive. We didn't want to pull it out, but there's tools. The benefit of that compared to a smaller one is there's tools that I didn't even know was beneficial to us. Yeah, and I've told you related to automatically ACHing investors their money, paying their money in real time as they come in. It's not something we ever thought we needed. As soon as that happened, crazy, right? Things like that. But at the same time, you're working on some of these smaller softwares, and you're like, you're kind of making your own thing up as it goes along to map how it works, and it makes you think in that space.
Yeah,
and it helps you. What other kind of small industry tech stuff do you guys use that someone might not know? Like,
the most recent one that we just added was everybody asks, what's your online platform to raise capital and syndicate your most recent deals. Syndication Pro, it's been good. It's a monthly subscription, or you can pay for it for the year depending on how much you do. But that truly changed our business. When we were doing capital raises, everything would be like phone calls, text, individual emails, subscription documents getting emailed and passed around. Once we got to that platform, it's opened up the books to raise more capital. Also, distributions. Again, you're in a customer service based business at that point. People want to be able to log in, show their friends, show their returns, know where their money is. Those little points that we never thought. I want to say we never thought they were valuable, but what they were is we never realized how intrinsically important they were to our customers, to our investors, and what it meant to them. And once we added that platform, it's taken it to a whole new level.
And it's paid for itself. And
100%.
We can sum this whole thing up related to, not only, let's sum up a few transition points, right?
Sure.
So number one, it's good to learn this stuff yourself and do it yourself, right? You dive in, figure it out, right? And it doesn't take a budget. After that, figure out how you want to automate this.
Yep.
You automate it, you put a better tool in place to do so. And what I've always come to conclusion is most of these software platforms and technology pay for itself. They just do. They, when we brought in better servicing softwares, we had more on-time payments, and our capital investors wanted to deploy more money with us. That pays for itself, right? That's an easy one.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to the transition, and one of the key takeaways for me is if you don't know what you want to input into the software
100%,
or what the output that you want from is, you can't get to that point, right? So
dude, crap in, crap out.
Yeah, exactly.
All these softwares aren't going to be like, oh, go take this off this particular document and put it in here.
And that's why I think Excel spreadsheets and Word docs and Google Docs or whatever the heck you're on, some people start cheating themselves. They don't hold themselves accountable. Whereas if you have a software and you're paying, we're paying $300-400 a month for some of these property management softwares, maybe even more. So, that's a real bill, dude. Like, you better utilize it.
If I had 2 tips of advice for smaller real estate investors, because typically most of our audience is smaller real estate investors that are flipping a few deals a year, right? They're buying a few deals a year, maybe residential real estate or storage or something, right? They're not full-blown humongous companies, right?
Right.
I would say 2 things to think through. Number one, doing some of the bookkeeping or accounting yourself, not overwhelming stuff, but learning it and doing it yourself and living inside that. So you see, it's like, oh shit, my expenses are a lot higher than I thought. The real money that hit my account, right? Because let's say you flip a house, wholesaler or flipper, you flip a house and you walked with $60,000 in your pocket as a flipper. Well, go really look at all those numbers. It's significantly lower than you think.
Well, who wants to pay taxes on $60,000 when you only need 40?
Exactly. Exactly. So first off, let me say 2 things and then jump in. So that's the first thing, is really understanding the bookkeeping and accounting yourself. I'm not saying do all the data inputs forever, but the other side of it is, if you're raising capital or you're putting money into deals, if you're raising money or you're working with capital investors, you got to put a system in place to make sure they're getting paid timely, efficiently, the right way. I mean, there's too many private lenders out there too many real estate investors out there that are raising capital for private lenders. They're giving them money and it's like, oh, just pay me back when you loan gets paid back. No, you got to figure out a way to get in front of them and pay them over and over and make it look professional, right? Make it look professional, like you're a real operation, and they're going to want to continue to give you capital.
Yep. I just literally had a conversation with an investor with another real estate investor on the way down here. I said, I understand the deal that you did, but you need to figure out a way to give consistent distributions to your investors and do catch-ups or do whatever you need to do to get them consistency. I'll leave everybody with this one piece of software that absolutely 100% changed our business over the past 12 months and allowed us to leave our W-2 jobs. Is whether you're a real estate investor or for your personal home budget, go look up YNAB. You need a budget, YNAB.com. Look up Nick True on YouTube. I don't know the guy, giving him a free shout out. 100% go look at that. You will instantly know where your money's going on a daily basis. You will have a set budget. You'll know the financial health of your company. You don't need QuickBooks. You don't need all this other crazy crap. It is a very, very simple software to understand where you are in your business, where you are, your cash position. You can even get a toolkit to add on a Google Chrome extension to see how long your money will last, how long your money's been coming in. It looks at your money. If you bring in $1 today, how long it lasts in your account. That's real information, man. You really know the financial health of your business. And again, I think that's the number one thing that real estate investors can do, whether you're getting in or you're a seasoned real estate investor, knowing your cash position, knowing the financial health of your company, and you'll be in business for longer than you can ever imagine.
Yep. I 100% agree.
You done being on the screen and like both looking the same way?
Yeah. So one of the things, well, first off, if everybody enjoyed this style of podcast, make sure you comment. We really appreciate it. If you have a system, a software, a hack that you're using inside your business, feel free to comment, share that with the community, share that with the group. As Ian and I started the show, we're doing this live in our HMB office in Columbia. And again, we're not doing everything 100%. Some of these things are 80%, but it's done. We have a camera here, we have a camera here, and we're staring at each other. But as you can see, it kind of looks like we're both looking in different ways. So I think if I looked this way, I'd be facing Ian. So we're going to get that all worked out. Definitely want some feedback from everybody. See how they like this shot. There we go. That's what
our studio is set up now.
Hold on, let me put this on the. That's what it looks like.
And if we're working on getting this whole thing right, so either way, as you guys can see, it's all about taking action, and that's what's the most important thing you can do.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Until next time, everybody.